keeping this inward feeling, listen to these words from Swamiji from Affirmations for Self-Healing. This is on God remembrance. To remember God means not only to think of him constantly, but to realize that finding him is an act of remembrance only. For it is from him that we have come. When the clouds of delusion evaporate from our minds, what will be left is what was there always, hidden behind the clouds, the blazing sun of divine consciousness. One should not strain nor reach outward mentally to think of God. Know that he has been yours always, nearer than your nearest thoughts and feelings, nearer than the very prayers you offer him. Think not merely about him, think to him. Share with him your passing feelings, your idlest fancy. Talk with him. Practice his presence. At first, perhaps for minutes a day, then for hours, and then all the time. And let's affirm together, I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth.
I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth.
Bliss infinite.
Bliss infinite.
Eternal love.
Eternal love.
I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth.
I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth.
Bliss infinite.
Bliss infinite.
Eternal love.
Eternal love.
More quietly. I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth.
I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth.
Bliss infinite.
Bliss infinite.
Eternal love.
Eternal love.
Now in a whisper, I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth. Bliss infinite. Eternal love. And now silently, with concentration, I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth. Bliss infinite. Eternal love. I will live in the remembrance of what I am in truth. Bliss infinite. Eternal love. And please pray silently with me. Lord, thou art always with me. Help me to feel behind my thoughts thy inspiration, behind my every emotion, thy calm, all transforming love. Om Shanti Shanti.
Good morning to everyone and those that are tuning in online. This reading is from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda, entitled Driving the Rebel King Ignorance. O mighty mystic judge of life, I ask thee, in my hall of soul stillness, what is sin? The whisper of silence, dim at first, grew into bright articulations of thought. I understood and understood thy meaning. Sin is a rebel king. His name is ignorance. Ignorance is the perpetrator of all evil, the main root of the tree of ill health, the primal cause of all error and soul blindness. King Ignorance and his army of bacteria, physical disease, mental desires, dullness and false ambition, spiritual indifference to high truths, have been devastating the nourishing harvest fields of spirituality. That harvest of countless fulfillments was ripe for reaping when the harsh tread of air trampled it to the ground. I wanted to weep with despair when I heard thy voice whispering to me in my soul. The sun of my protection shines on thee always, equally on the sunny days and on thy coal-black nocturnal hours. Thou should always have faith in me and smile, for the greatest of all sins against me is not to be happy. Let the ripples of unceasing smiles play over thy face. Through their transparency, my light will come to thine assistance. By smiling with determined happiness, thou wilt always please me. And from the Path by Swami Kriyananda, drawn from the chapter, First Impressions. He had just come to Mount Washington. He had spent a desperate number of years, both in high school and in college, trying to find the truth. And he was truly desperate until he came upon the autobiography of a yogi in New York. And he knew that this was it. And he traveled to California, a long journey, and met Yogananda. And incredibly, Yogananda accepted him as a disciple that very day. And so as we begin this chapter, he's just arriving at Mount Washington, which is the headquarters that Yogananda founded in 1925. And he's also talking with Brother Norman, who was a fellow monk. And to add that he was shown to what was now going to be his living quarters. And it was an outbuilding. And when he opened the door, he was amazed because it was really in need of repair and cleaning on every single level. And yet he found that though he knew now why the other monks all stayed in the basement at the main building, this would be a place where he could call his own. And even in this little spot, he found a little meditation cave. And he spent many, many hours over the years at that point, over time, in this wonderful environment that he, again, was able to clean up and decorate. It no longer mystified me why the other monks preferred to live in the basement. But as for me, I didn't mind at all. Quite the contrary, the disadvantages of my ramshackle quarters only added fuel to my soaring happiness. I was so utterly thrilled to be here in the ashram of my guru that every fresh inconvenience only made me laugh the more delightedly. I laughed often now. The bent-up agony of recent years found release in wave after fresh wave of happiness. Everything I had always longed for seemed mine now in my new way of life. There must be many good people here, I remarked to Norman on my first day there. He was astonished. Why, they're all good. It was my turn for astonishment. Could it really be, I wondered, that in this mixed bag of a world, a place existed where everyone was good? Then I concluded that Norman must be right. This had to be such a place. Many years ago, we had the privilege of spending time with Kamala, who was a disciple in the early years. She came to Yogananda as a teenager, as a young woman. And Yogananda said that she was very, very near freedom. And when she came to us now, she was an elderly woman. She had, with dementia, lost her short-term memory, but her long-term memory was intact. And so if you ever have a chance to read her book, Flawless Mirror, which is all about her time with Yogananda in the 20s, when Yogananda first came to America, it's very, very well worth reading and very, very inspiring. And so when we were, and there were many people, but Roma and I and our daughter Rose at different times would spend time with her and care for her. And so we brought out the Flawless Mirror, and we wanted to see if perhaps she could add to the various stories and so forth. And so one particular passage there in her book, The Flawless Mirror, was where Yogananda was visiting the home of her mother and family in nearby Manhattan Beach, where Yogananda would come to visit them and swim in the nearby ocean and so forth. And so in this story, she recounted that they had given a gift to Yogananda of the the book of Omar Khayyam. And so Yogananda glanced at the book, and it had the various stanzas, but under the stanzas were blank pages. And so he couldn't resist. And so he began writing his interpretation there in that wonderful and true scripture. And so we asked Kamala about how that happened to happen. She said, well, it was a gift that we had given, put it in their nearby bedstand. And what was our surprise when he began with great enthusiasm, with great depth, to write out, again, the various interpretations. And so it was really a joy because although her short-term memory was gone, nevertheless, she was able to fill in these various blanks, which of course we were keenly interested in quizzing her on. At another time, she needed more care. And so she was transferred to a nearby hospital in the San Francisco area that cared for her. And again, we went down and visited her. And I remember this to this very day because it was such an amazing contrast. On one room across the hall from her was a woman about Kamala's age, perhaps in her 80s. And she looked like she was, if anybody approached that room, they were in big trouble. It was like a Bengal tiger awaited them and would pounce on them with her complaints and God knows what. And there was Kamala, who was just shining with that radiance of decades and decades of self-effort, of Kriya Yoga that, of course, had drawn grace. And when we came in, she said to us, did you see him? And we said, well, no, we didn't see anyone. He said, he just left. We said, who? She said, Paramahansa Yogananda. Yogananda had come there, these great gurus there. He had passed by that time. Many years had passed since his passing in 52. But these great ones, we hear from time to time these stories where for whatever karmic reason, whatever reason they have, they will manifest themselves. And we thought, well, we didn't see him, but at least she told us that he was here. Good enough. And so that was a true inspiration for us. And these great ones, they come, these highly advanced disciples, filled with their bliss, as Swamiji manifested very much toward the end of his life, to remind us to not miss the point that we really are here for that bliss. Who is God? Who is the God that we are seeking? Why are we trying to remember God's Smriti memory? It's because we remember on a soul level that bliss. We've come down from that bliss. As we go into deep meditation, we begin to feel that experience through our seva and through so many means. And these great souls like Kamala remind us through their radiance that this is attainable for each and every one of us. I had an experience recently. It surprised me. I was I was out in the city and going through a travel book. Had a little bit of time, and so I was looking through it, and I saw an article. And this was an article about the 1984 Olympics. And I was just going to pass it by because I was just, sweeping through the book, reading a little bit about Portugal and Switzerland and all of these various places. And they were accompanied by beautiful pictures and so forth. But I was surprised to see this in the middle of all of these various spots that were being highlighted throughout the world. And I always like to, when I read a book, or I should say I pick up a book, perhaps at a bookstore, I like to see, if it's available, the author's picture. Because I feel that if I'm going to be spending time, this is going to be a satsang too. If I'm going to be spending time with this person, I want to experience their vibration. And so as I was passing through this magazine, I saw a picture. They had a picture of this man. He was then in his 80s. And a wonderful face, very, very soft and bright and giving. And so I thought, okay, I'll read a few paragraphs. And apparently he only gave interviews very rarely, but this was one of them. And he was a Titan, someone who had from scratch put together quite an empire, a business empire. And so he was asked then to head the Olympics. And this was a daunting task for him and for everyone. This was in Los Angeles in 1984, because the past Olympics of recent years had not gone well. And they were afraid by hosting the Olympics in Los Angeles, that it was going to bankrupt the city. Because, of course, he took it on anyway and felt that this was really a need of the hour. And as it worked out, not only was it a stupendous success on all the various levels, but it was a great success financially, such that they had millions of dollars left over, which then were able to be directed to a fund for disadvantaged children. And for many decades, perhaps it's going on even to this day, that fund there is helping. And so other people, he went on to take on other duties, were asked then to run the Olympics at different times. And one person came to him and said, you know, your success in Los Angeles in 1984 was just absolutely stupendous. If you could just give me an idea of how you did it. And he said, well, be humble. That's all he said, be humble. And in the article, it was very sweet because different people were interviewed, and they said that no one in this group of people, and he attracted wonderful people, ever considered him the boss. He was just a team player. That was it. And he knew that the way in order, especially with these major projects, to move forward was to draw the very, very best out of people. Everyone has wonderful qualities to be drawn upon. And so that's what he did. And so simply be humble. That was it. And so as we make an effort to attune ourselves to God, there comes a point where we want to simplify. As Swami was extremely desperate to find God, and then he came to Master's ashram. Great was his very, very good karma. It comes a point after we have been on the path for a while, whether it be a day or for decades, that we want to do everything we can to keep it simple, knowing that it's a daunting task to, as Master recommended, to reform our lives, refashion our lives, rather, ideally. And we know how daunting it is. We read in Master's autobiography of the yogi that Jesus Christ himself had to come to Babaji with great concern, because he said, yes, my followers, my disciples are doing good works there in the West, but they have forgotten inner communion. Please, will you send someone? As it turned out, it was Yogananda. Would you send someone to remind them that the inner life is not to be neglected? And that's, of course, a really extreme example of the soul call of, in this instance, a great master, but no doubt he was tuning into the soul call of the very, very many thirsty souls yearning for meaning in their life, as most people are, even to this day. And so Yogananda was sent to the West. Swami had a very interesting dream. I'd never stumbled upon this, but I did the other day. And this was a time during a very serious surgery where he was in the hospital. And it was open heart surgery, and there were other surgeries too that were involved. It was extremely serious. And there it was about midnight, 1 a.m, and all of a sudden, he had this experience where he felt that the Maya was trying to absolutely dampen the power of the Master's mission, of Yogananda's mission to the West, to shrink it down to the point where he was just a monk and he formed a monastery, and that was about it. Very interesting experience he had. Well, luckily, fortunately, riding on the wave of that experience that he had, where the Maya was trying to push down this incredible dynamic power that Yogananda brought, as all the great saints bring. Then riding on the heels of that was, again, that wave of grace. And Swami Kriyananda realized there was no way that the Maya was going to get away with this. There was no way. The light that Yogananda came to bring was here to stay. As Yogananda said, in time, world brotherhood colonies will spread in all lands. The Kriya Yoga will spread in all lands. And so I thought, isn't that something? That the Maya is always, we know from our own internal battles and the things that we face outwardly, that the Maya is always on its toes to, again, bring our energy down, to shrink our heart and to cloud the mind. Imagine Swami's experience. This was a collective experience to bring everyone down, the billions on this planet. And yet, I always remember that the Maya is on a short leash. Doesn't seem like it at times, especially these days, but it's on a short leash, and we needn't worry that it's going to take over, because as Yogananda reminded his disciples at times that we're being tested, that God will never test us beyond our ability to endure. Sometimes it looks like it's pretty close, but never to the point where we're unable then to fight the good fight. Well, Swami's question to Norman about, the good people that we just read about, well, that is what we experience in places like Ananda, in many places, of course, throughout India and the world, where people are sincere and they're doing good. When Swami Kriyananda asked Yogananda one time, are there a couple of things that are very important on the spiritual path? And Yogananda said, yes, sincerity and devotion. We need to be sincere in our efforts. And as we read in his incredible poem on Samadhi, he said, as a part of the poem, it's in the autobiography of Yogi, and Yogananda recommended that we memorize it. He said, by deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi. Deeper, longer, thirsty. Guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi, that which everyone in the world is yearning for, whether they're aware of it or not. And certainly we are. That state of consciousness that brings us back at long last, back into the fold. And so for us, it's good to, know as any general that hopes to be victorious needs to know they're on the battlefield, what he's up against in terms of the enemy. We need to know too of what we're up against through introspection and so forth, but not to bring us down. Only just to take a little look. Oh, I see why I've been a little grumpy, why, I've been, mad at someone, whatever it might be. I see this is just karma coming along, but I needn't worry, because as Yogananda said, and it's absolutely true, 50% of all this karma that we have, each and every one of us, and all those that are inhabiting this planet except for a select few, the saints, God comes along and takes half of that karma. That's an enormous amount when we reflect as to what that means. Incarnations and incarnations of all of these various experiences and thoughts and feelings are taken away like a mighty wave. And then Guru takes 25%. 25% is left. Why is that? Why didn't, with them being so generous, 75% of our karma, all of our problems, karma problems, are taken away? Why didn't they say, well, we're on a roll, why don't we just take all of it? Well, sometimes we wonder about that, and we get, perhaps a little annoyed at God. But it's because we have to earn. We have to earn our freedom. And isn't it true, in a little bit of reflection, doesn't that satisfaction come to us when we've earned the diploma that has taken us then to perhaps higher education, when we've earned that friendship by being selfless and doing all that we can, that we've earned this privilege of piercing the veil, going inside and having an inner life. I was talking with a friend the other day, and I was just saying, it's so interesting that so many good people are drawn to the path. They have that very good karma. They're drawn to the path. They feel their heart opening. They feel their mind brightening. But for some reason, then they go away and we don't see them again. And I just thought we should thank our lucky stars for any good thought that comes. It's from God. Any feeling of the opening of the heart, it's from God. These are things that are helping us to be steadfast. And that's why I like to say very simply, whoever shows up wins. Showing up for sadhana, showing up for seva, showing up so that we can watch the mind. A disciplined mind's a happy mind. Watch the heart to make sure that we don't get influenced. Master had to come to the West in order to do this great work, which truly it was, in order to sweep to a great extent this Maya away so that people could begin to remember who and what they are. And yet, it was a daunting task for him. There was numerous times when he was assaulted because he was outspoken and he only told the truth. But at the same time, he was totally in tune with people's reality. And these great saints are just that. He was only here to help. These great ones, they don't need to come here. They come here for us because they remember the struggle when they too were struggling to, again, become one with the light. And so God remembrance, it's not that difficult if we keep on. And I think in part, the energization exercises, which has this as a part of them, if you're familiar with them, pounding the hill, our skulls, pounding a little bit of sense into our skulls, is to remember the blessings that we've been given. And then that's not enough. That's the first step. Remember the blessings we've been given. And then as we drink in these blessings, which are there in meditation and in so many ways, then again, to share these blessings, to be generous in so many ways because people are suffering needlessly. Remember, as Yogananda highly recommended, give it to God. That alone is a pranayam, a kriya. Give it to God. Offer it into the light. A negative thought comes, give it to God. Make a habit of that. Positive thought comes, thank you. Give it to God. Give it to God. What does that do? That cements in our consciousness the importance of spending time with God, spending time with Divine Mother. And in that way, we don't have to waste time. We just think, well, okay, this is what I've been given. I would appreciate that it's not raining right now, but it is, and I'm getting drenched, and I forgot to bring my umbrella. Give it to God. And the next thing we know, there God is, smiling. As Saint Teresa of Avila, one of Ananda's favorite stories, one of Yogananda's and Swami's favorite stories as well. She was an elderly nun. She was a Spanish saint, living many, many years ago, an ecstatic saint. And at one point with her nuns, she was swept away by a great current of river, and the nuns thought that she had drowned. And there she found herself on the opposite bank, completely dry, and there was Jesus Christ. And she was asking him, why? What was the need of this? I was just doing your work, trying to found monasteries during this time of Inquisition, of tremendous resistance for the work that she was doing. And what did Christ say? Classically, this is how I treat all my friends. And so that's when Teresa, with a ready wit, said, yes, my Lord. And that's why you have so few. And that's only because with all of the excitement that comes in any given day, internally, externally, we can get ourselves bogged down. That's why we have to have a reserve tank of gratitude, a reserve tank of love, a reserve tank of joy that we can go to and replenish ourselves any instant that we begin to find that our consciousness is beginning to drift, beginning to sink, because we have the responsibility. We have the responsibility to be happy so that we can share that blessing with all souls. So we will have our party. You're going to say a few words. Oh, great. Good.
I'll say a few because I don't want to hold you. But I was thinking this morning that, well, I just experienced a lovely birthday week, and it was really filled with warm wishes and blessings and love and joy. It was just a wonderful week. It was a wonderful, wonderful week. And I really felt Master and Swamiji's blessings coming through all of you and all of our dear friends all over the world. And I was remembering all of the times that I had spent with Swamiji over these years on my birthday. And always, somehow, some way, he got word that it was my birthday, and he would send a note or a little card or a little gift or something. He would just remember. And I was always so touched because I thought, why me? I mean, you have all of these people. Why would you even concern yourself with this? Because it's such a trivial matter, this birthday. And I was thinking about it, and it was just that, just like the title of this satsang today, God remembrance. Every single time that we give kindness and we give compassion and we give these small acts of love to the people in our lives, tiny, it can just be tiny. That's God. That's God coming through. And it's helping this person to remember God. And it's helping you to remember God, which is the point of our existence. Why are we here if we can't remember where we came from? Why are we here if we can't remember Divine Mother in our lives? What a dry life that would be. What a dry, cold life if Divine Mother didn't have an instrument to shine through to this world. And this is the purpose of our lives. And then I was thinking, well, Haridas and I talk about our experiences with Swami and other people that were with Swami. And I remember, when Swami was talking about Master to us, and I would have it in my heart, oh, I wish I could have been with Master. I wish I could have been there. And then I thought, well, what of all of us that haven't been with Swami? There might be that little thought, oh, if only I could have had that, if I could have been with Swami. And Swami would tell us over and over and over again, it's not about that. It's about attuning yourself to Master's ray right where you are and what he has given you. And he said, God loves you. And he would tell us all the time, as much as he loves Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Sri Yukteswar, all of them. And he said, even he used to think, oh, if only I could have met Sri Yukteswar. It's a human feeling, but we can. And we are meeting them right now in this moment if we just open up and we attune ourselves, just really attune ourselves to that vibration of divine consciousness that's there. It's not outside of ourselves. It's not over there or in that person or in that satsang or in that temple. It's in here. This is where Master comes. This is where Swami comes. This is where love is. And all of the things that Master has given us to do, Kriya Yoga, meditation, seva, good environment, all of the things that he's given us to do in those things, this is where he comes. This is why he gave us these things. So we need to embrace our lives with joy. We need to be grateful for our life. We need to remember that we're children of God and keep it simple, just so simple. We're all exactly where we're supposed to be right now in this moment. God knows we're here. Master knows we're here. Swami knows we're here. This is where we're supposed to be. And Master said, when you're happy in the moment, you have God. So we need to be happy. And what a wonderful job. Just be happy. Swami tells the story of this old man that was a real grump, always grumpy, always getting mad at the children running through his garden, always kicking the dogs off his land, always grumpy with shopkeepers, totally grumpy. And nobody liked him. Everybody tried to stay away. After a while, you build a fence around yourself. And then one morning, he just woke up and he said, "What am I doing? I'm going to be happy." He changed his mind. He changed his life. He started to be happy. That's all it took. He was a thought away from being happy, and he became happy. And he had God in his life then. And all of a sudden, he would invite the children in for cookies and give the dogs the food and be nice to all the shopkeepers. That one thought, I am not happy. Things are not going my way. I don't like the way my life is. Switch the thought, raise your consciousness, practice Kriya, embrace happiness and joy and light and love, because that's who we really are. We're a thought away. And remember else what Master said. Now, Swami said, well, when you're gone, how are we going to do it without you? He said, if you think me near, I'll be near. A thought away. So our thoughts are powerful. Our hearts need to be open, and we need to be steadfast in happiness and joy. And then all the blessings come unrequested. We don't even know where they're coming from. So I just wanted to share that. There were some of my thoughts on my birthday, and we're grateful to be here. We're grateful for our spiritual family. We're grateful for our life. We're grateful for everybody and our guru. And so God bless you all. And let's just try this week, at least this week, just to be happy. I'm happy. That's a great mantra. A great mantra. I am happy. 3 words. You can do it.